Welcome, welcome. Welcome to everyone here on Zoom. Good morning, nice to see you. As you can see on the screen, I believe, playing with some new toys here. You'll see when we're gonna go live here. Also be broadcasting it so that you can watch the replay, have a handy YouTube link as well. All right, we will be getting started shortly. That's correct. It's just me on screen. So you're anonymous. Unless you chat, you feel free to chat with each other, say hi in the chat, but it's just going to be me on the screen. So no worries about, if you're in pajamas or whatever, wherever you are, you don't have to worry about muting, unmuting, just kind of in watching mode. Welcome everyone who's coming in. It's nice to see you. See a lot of familiar names. It's always really nice. Hey Marlene, good morning. Hey Gilbert, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you. Thanks for spending this time with me. And we will be focusing on these for 3 days. Oh, hello from Denmark as well. Nice to see so many people here on this subject of self-fixing to self-compassion. So if you're new here, I do a lot of EFT. I do a lot of emotional work, which you could also see on my YouTube channel. But a big emphasis for me is how do we relate to ourselves even when we're doing any of this work? Right? So you can be doing EFT tapping, saying, I need to get rid of this feeling, or you can even be saying really nice things like, oh, I love myself, I totally accept myself. But internally, right, you want to get rid of everything. You're judging yourself for not having made more progress, thinking you should be farther along, all of these types of feelings. So my feeling is that the way we relate to a technique, the way we experience it, is in many ways as if not more important than the technique itself. Because as I was saying, you can be doing anything from a place of I'm trying to fix something, and it doesn't mean you won't get anything out of it. But just imagine a similar thing with conversations with humans, right? You can be saying nice words. You can think you're coming from sort of positive intentions or trying to say and do the right things. But really, people can kind of feel that underlying dynamic. Like, hey, this person wants something from me, or I'm trying to get something, or I don't actually feel comfortable, but I'm putting on a front, which, I certainly do that. We all do that to some degree. But it's really the attitude in the spirit in which we have, in which we do things that can matter just as much, if not more, than the actual thing itself. So today's theme that we are going to be looking at here is the self-judgment and judgment of yourself for old patterns, right? For patterns of, I've been working on this for a while. I've been trying to do this for so long, and it's just not working for me. And so this is a very, very common thing, especially if you've been around the block a bit in terms of doing like inner work, emotional healing work. That link is wrong. It's innerworkcoach.com/3day. Sorry about that. Like I said, playing with some new technology here. So if you're on YouTube and you want to join on Zoom, I'll put a link in the chat there. And you'll get the email reminders and all that good stuff. But yeah, we're going to be looking at the subject of self-judgment for patterns. So I'd like you to take a moment and kind of feel into, okay, are there things in your life that fall into the category of, I've been working on this for a really long time. I feel or think that this should be further along than it is. And the inherent feeling of some judgment in that. I'm very curious. And I would not be surprised if you might have more than one, right? There might be more than one thing in your life where you feel a sense of, oof, yeah, I'm not sure this is really how I like feeling. I'm going to fix this. And so when you do that, just take a moment and see if there's anything that comes up as a particularly strong one. And we can use the chat for this as well. And I'm very curious, just like even in the details of the broad description, because a lot of times we share sort of similar ones. So find a specific example, if possible, with as little or much detail as you like, falling into the category of, I've been working on this for a while, or I feel like I should be further along on this than I am. It could be external circumstances, so to speak, such as, a health thing. That's sort of like semi-internal, semi-external, right? Because it's the body, but it's also kind of a reflection in some ways of like progress for us. Also, it could be, more concrete, like money, getting to a certain place in my business, getting to a certain place in relationship, whether that's with myself or getting into like a partnership, whatever that means for you. So if you've been feeling it for a while and you've got a certain sense of, this isn't where I want it to be. We have in the chat, yes, can't get into order and structure. That used to be easy for me. And I teach clients how to do this, but for me, dragging behind. And that's a very common experience for us who are, like myself, who are in this sort of space of, okay, I'm presenting a topic that doesn't, so if I'm not like crushing it in that area of my life, or I feel like there's something going on for me, and I know there's other people watching this who do some sort of coaching or even teaching like in a classroom, there's like an extra pressure on yourself. So there's an extra layer of judgment. That's a good one to feel into as well. I'm kind of tapping a little bit now, just as I become aware of that sense of like, oh yeah, this is another layer of why I should be along further. It could be your age. It could be a sense of, I teach this, or I think of myself as someone who is fill in the blank. I think of myself as someone who is good with money, but here I am with this, huge tax bill or whatever it may be. I should be further along, this is in the chat, I should be further along in my professional life and should have saved much more money by this time in my life. Okay, yeah. I have a feeling we're not alone on that one. I have a feeling this person in the chat is not the only one who feels, I wish I had more saved up by now. One mundane thing I've been working on is my financial health, money and income. Income has come up significantly, but somehow expenses seem to have increased even more. Well, that's just also a reality of 2025. Expenses are, unless you don't eat food or use gasoline, your expenses have gone up. So my relationship to lack and insecurity has increased. Yeah, absolutely, right? So there's a feeling of like, yeah, I'm feeling this tension in what's happening externally. I am feeling, oh, I should have more saved, and expenses are going up on top of it. I thought I had a solution to doom scrolling, and it's only intermittent. Okay, yeah. So you can see how we have these different layers, different types of emotional experiences that are coming up. And just even on the detail. So what I'd like you to do first, before we, get a little deeper into it, is now that you've become aware, you've become conscious on some level, even if it's vague, even if what's coming up for you is not as specific as some of the ones in the chat, just some sense of like, there's some judgment that things should be different than they are for me. And we're going to do a little bit of tapping on that to help whatever else could be under the hood, so to speak, become a little bit more clear. So let's take a deep breath, or however deep feels right for you. And just notice what kind of nuances might have already started acting up in the body, in your emotions. Now that, okay, yeah, we're talking about things that I feel I should be further along on. And maybe some of the comments in the chat really bumped that up for you. Like, oh yeah, I should have saved more too. I didn't even think about that. Right. We'll do a little tapping on this. So on the side of the hand, let's say, even though I am judging what's happening in my life, maybe that's my savings or my routines, my relationship to money, my relationship with the internet and social media. I'm open to having some compassion for myself. And so even though there is judgment, by definition, I'm judging when I think, yeah, I should be better at this than I am. I should be further along. I should have a better relationship with money or social media. I choose to honor and accept myself as best I can. And even though I am judging, I'm judging my progress or lack of progress. I thought I had this figured out or had a solution, but it doesn't seem to be working anymore. I teach this, or I know better. And still here I am with this money or relationship or self-motivation or routine issues. And I'm open to at least exploring what else might be driving this. What else might be contributing to these patterns? Let's go through the points now. We're going to explore this in a little bit of a way that kind of weaves in the theme here. So we want to start though with acknowledging the actual feeling, right? So the way I do it, and I don't think, in EFT in general, ideally this is the way we want to acknowledge what we're actually feeling, right? So if you really hate that you feel this way about it, we're going to acknowledge that. So let yourself be really honest. Feel free to change the words, right? Say, I should be better with my money by now. I should be better at managing my time. I thought I had a solution to being online and doom scrolling. I feel like I should have more money saved by now. And maybe it's not that polite how it actually feels. Yeah, I can't believe I don't have more saved by now. Or I'm really surprised, or this feels really bad. Where I'm actually at in my relationship with money or my to-do list. Or I can't seem to really get it together with organization and tasks. And I want to acknowledge how I really feel about it. Is it just a mild inconvenience? Yeah, it'd be nice to have more money saved. Or is it, wow, I can't believe it's this low? Does this mean anything about me? What do I think this represents? In what ways am I judging myself in relationship to this situation? Do I think it means something like laziness, lack of willpower, immaturity, wasted talent or ability? Maybe I feel like I was an unfair victim of situations. I may have actually been a victim of unfair situations. But how am I relating to that? Is there anger or frustration? Any sadness or guilt or shame? The judgment is there. I'm not totally neutral about it. And it may seem perfectly logical. I mean, of course, I'm not going to feel good about not having more saved. But as much as it feels okay for me, allowing myself to get a little more specific with it. What emotions, what sensations are there for me? Allowing myself to tune into those. Allowing myself to be compassionate with my body and whatever energy and emotion I'm feeling right now about this. So let's take a breath, keep tapping. We're kind of getting a little more under the hood with it now, right? We have in the chat, I'm really scared. I really wanted to earn more. It feels like a rejection or abandonment by God, right? Yeah, so that's a very deep underlying experience behind, okay, it's not that I just really wish I could earn more, which most of us do. Most of us wouldn't mind at least earning more, but to feel like there's a rejection or an abandonment adds a whole other layer of nuance to it, right? A whole other layer of being specific. So just let that sort of percolate a little bit. And also give yourself a moment, just tap a little bit and create a little bit of distance from it, especially because it could be fairly intense, some of the things that may have come up around this. So intentionally creating some space between you and these emotions, whatever you might be realizing. Acknowledge yourself for, okay, they've come into awareness. That's good, right? That's the start of any real processing, of any real moving through this. And so give yourself a moment to kind of wind down a little bit from that, or just keep that distance from that before we go any deeper into this. And I would like to know if anyone is comfortable sharing into the chat. Let's talk about, like we said, how you experience it, right? So we have that one comment. It feels not just like I want to earn more. It feels like a rejection or an abandonment by God. Do you experience, for example, there's a sense of shame or guilt around not having saved more money? Is for the examples around, oh, I teach this, I talk about this myself. Was there anything such as embarrassment or shame or the way you're speaking to yourself? So let yourself tune in, just be, you can tap to kind of keep that processing going in the body if it's comfortable for you. And then if you like, because what I'll do for all of these calls is anyone who wants to put anything in the chat, basically I'll incorporate it into the round. So you can be as vague or as specific as you like, but if you do put something there, I'll include that in the tapping and in the processing. So you're kind of hearing it back in your words, and we'll touch on that theme pretty specifically. Okay, feeling like a failure, like I couldn't succeed. Yeah. And thank you for sharing these. I know they're vulnerable. That's part of why we do it, anonymously here. Also to keep the flow going, but to also notice that when I read things other people say, you might feel less alone. It's like, wow, there's a lot of really shared human experiences in these. Feeling like a failure, like I couldn't succeed, rejected or abandoned by God, right? I have to be quote unquote perfect if I'm going to teach or consult with clients. I certainly know something about that, right? Here I am on this side of it. Doesn't mean I don't feel these things. I'm just taking on a role of leading us through a process because it's something I have trained in, but we don't always think of it that way, right? I have to be perfect if I'm going to teach anything. At this age, is there any way I could make up for the loss of savings and gains? Yeah, okay. So feeling it's too late at my age, right? We have age component. I feel embarrassed, shame about not earning more. It shows others my lack of value. I try to hide it, rejection by God, anger at the self for not doing better, which leads to hopelessness and it won't change. Yeah, so this brings up heavy stuff, right? The judgment of ourselves around this. And so just letting yourself kind of, again, keep tapping and just kind of take a step back because there's a lot of heavy things in there, right? And notice how these aren't just sort of external goals. It's really, when you turn the magnifying glass around, it's not just money. It's a feeling of rejection by God. I resent others who have more anger at the self, embarrassment, hopelessness, right? These are deep feelings, and it's not about wallowing in those feelings. What we're doing with this process here is we're getting to what we're more deeply feeling behind it. Because you can do processes like, okay, I'm going to try to visualize myself with a lot of money. I'm going to try to focus on taking more action, but that action is going to be highly motivated and colored by a sense of shame, a sense of perfectionism, right? So we only go into these things because we're tapping and we're going to be processing on it. And it's the beautiful, necessary component, I feel like, of not just talking about these things, like in a talk setting, like, oh, okay, yeah, you feel shame. That must be difficult. Tell me more about the shame. And then not processing it. It's like we don't want to just stir these things up and not clear some of the energy, some of our judgment around it. But we also don't want to just tap and do whatever processes we like, meditation, visualization, without kind of addressing, wait, what's really driving behind this? These are sort of like brakes or like different colored goggles you're wearing, right? A sense of I feel failure this whole time. So I'm just kind of feeling into these, looking at some of these a little bit more. And just notice how, and there was a question here about how to reshape core beliefs on YouTube. And yeah, really, what we first have to do is really explore them on this level to become conscious of them and then feel into them in a more specific way. So we're going to do that now. And what we don't do is just tap super broadly on like, okay, I found a core belief, like I'm not worthy of making money. There's a tendency to say, oh, I found it. I found the core belief. Let's work on that. If I could just let go of that belief, everything would change. But it doesn't work like that, at least on that superficial of a level, because the belief, the core belief, is not this English or whatever language you speak phrase in your brain that's like, I'm not good with money. I don't deserve money. Let's change those words to I am good with money and something happens. It's not how the nervous system works, right? It's not how your limbic system works and all of that stuff. these experiences in your life that have emotional charge behind them have created this experience that now, to make sense of the world, turns into a belief: I am not good with money. I don't deserve money. So what we're doing here by going a little bit more into these experiences is actually working through that allows them to be let go of. So let's just pause for a minute before we do more tapping on some of the things that have come up. Different layers of resentment, contributing to ex-husband's career for so long, feeling like I'm behind in my own financial. Yep, and others agreeing. Yep. Feeling that need to be perfect. Okay, so let's move into these together a bit. So let's go to the side of the hand, and let's say, even though this has stirred up a lot, feelings of failure, imposter syndrome, it's too late, resentment, I choose to acknowledge myself and how much I've actually been carrying here. And even though there's actually some heavy stuff behind this, perfectionism, failure, resentment, anger, I honor myself for recognizing this, allowing myself to be with this as best I can. So even though there is judgment of myself, and there's some deep emotions and feelings behind this, resentment, perfectionism, shame, guilt, resenting early childhood and the trauma I faced. I acknowledge there's actually a lot behind this. And I choose to have compassion for myself in this process. All right, let's go through the points now. And as always, if you're really dialed into one specifically, feel free to adjust the words. Otherwise, we'll be incorporating the group statements here as well, because we often have connection to many of them, right? Even if one speaks out louder to you, there's sort of interplay between these emotions, right? How anger and resentment, and there might be shame behind it. And for one person, it stands out a little more. So like I said, adjust in your mind as you like, but feel free if you don't want to worry about that. It's all good. It's all going to be interconnected, and your brain will kind of make the necessary adjustments with whatever words are being said. So starting with just the acknowledgement, right? So through the points now, there's a lot here. It's not just money. It's not just being more disciplined. It's not just feeling I should be farther along. It's that I actually feel helpless, disappointed, isolated. I feel resentment about things that have happened to me, about things I had no say in, about family patterns or ex-partners. And I can feel anger towards that. There may even be some suppressed anger about this. I'm allowing that to present itself in the amount that feels right for me, so that I can feel through this, supporting myself in this. And I also want to acknowledge for myself that on one level, I may have been judging myself thinking it's just a simple thing. Why can't I just make a little more money? Why can't I just be a little more organized? Why can't I just have it a little more together? But then when I look at what's really going on, I'm really carrying a lot. I want to acknowledge that for myself. So when I start judging myself about the money, remembering I've been carrying a lot around this. There's a lot of emotion here. So it's not as simple as just changing some behaviors. And there may just be some emotion to clear, meaning we let ourselves feel it and process. Or, depending on the subject, it may run very, very deep for me. And so it's not just a little thing. It's not just a, why can't I get off the doom scrolling? There could be a whole universe behind this. And that is the path. I acknowledge myself for even looking at this. These deep feelings of like, my efforts are never enough. That there's isolation and disappointment, anger and resentment. And so much of the world is constantly redirecting me to try to change my behavior, to try to be more disciplined, to try to think more positive thoughts. And then circumstances will change. And then judging myself when I can't do it. But I choose to continue in this other direction. I say, wow, there's deep embarrassment here. There's a lot of shame and resentment here. Yeah, no wonder I can't just go do that thing. No wonder I can't just put the phone down. These are protective mechanisms. These things I'm judging myself for not doing. Anger for not taking more action. It's really a protective mechanism. It's saying it's easier to judge the behavior. It's better and safer to judge the doom scrolling. It's safer to think I should be perfect than to actually have to feel the deeper pain, sorrow, anger behind this. Part of me doesn't want me to feel this stuff because it cares about me. Or it feels it would be just destructive. And so I'm acknowledging that. I want to work with myself in this. So yeah, wow, there's a lot of intense emotion here. I choose to be present with it as best I can. Allowing it as best I can. Say, oh, the anger, the resentment, the embarrassment. That's what's behind this. This is what needs my attention. This comes before whatever actions I can take. This comes before whatever thoughts pop into my head. So allowing myself to look at that anger and sadness and shame. And notice where I'm pushing back. Where I'm saying, that anger, that shame shouldn't be here. Anywhere I'm dismissing my anger at my family. Or saying things like, hey, they tried their best. And just allowing myself to feel what I actually feel. I don't have to jump into it. I don't force anything. I'm just creating this space where it's allowed to come up. Where it's allowed to be wherever it needs to be. And my body knows what to do with this. Even if I don't know what's happening. Even if I'm not feeling much or feeling numb. This process is happening. And I acknowledge myself for even looking at this stuff. And open to seeing it in a new way. Where it's not a bad thing I need to get rid of. Things happened that would make any human angry. I was taught to feel shame or embarrassment about this. My system is just responding with what it learned. So how can I help it and support it? Maybe viewing myself and my system with a little less judgment, even if it struggles or feels pain, or feels anger and sadness and grief. Saying to myself, yeah, of course I feel that. I'm going to allow myself to feel that. Not focusing on the external actions for now. And just seeing what's best needed to support myself. Okay, let's take a breath. So what we're doing is, as you can tell, taking the sort of taking the theme of, oh, I should be further along. Where do I feel this sense of things aren't where I'd like them to be? Looking at what's a little bit deeper behind that, right? The shame, the embarrassment. It's not just about doing more or adopting more habits or positive thinking or even trying to tap in a new habit, right? First, oh yeah, that EFT tapping felt heavy in my body, depressed feeling. Yeah, there's heavy emotions behind this stuff, right? And so what we're really getting the ball rolling here is the more we're judging those feelings, right? Like, oh, I feel a shame and embarrassment about this thing in my life. That is by its nature very heavy in a lot of ways. But instead of like, okay, so I should try to fix my money, I should try to fix my habits, I should try to become more perfect, get my act together, then hopefully my life will look different and that feeling of heaviness will go away. It's really the opposite. Right? So we're actually looking at what's heavy and what's behind this, and we're really just starting to try to shift the perspective of noticing, yes, we do judge it, but starting to open our eyes to maybe a different way of seeing it, right? And even like allowing the judgment of it to be there, but not like, okay, I shouldn't judge it. It's not, okay, I need to think more happy thoughts. Oh, I know you're just trying to keep me safe and protect me, right? But it's feeling into that, feeling how a lot of these habits and behaviors, they are really a way of us kind of looking away from the heaviness, right? Like the heaviness is there, the shame, the guilt, the sadness is there, but we're kind of in a limbo of sorts where we maybe do some tapping, do some things around it, but we're really trying to fix the external situation and really judging ourselves for not being further along in our emotional work. And the more it's like, oh, wow, yeah, there's a lot here. There's a lot here since I was a child. And this is deep. And it's not maybe the simple thing I thought it was. And yeah, I'm a human being who has a lot going on. Okay, how can I start to sort of support through this process? Yeah, world situations in the countries, starving children, all sorts of, it feels unfair for me to get more with what's happening. I recently advised a friend to acknowledge her progress and practice a little daily self-kindness. And in this tapping, I realized I need to be kind to me about my progress, and I don't have to rush to an imaginary finish line. Yeah, described exactly what I have been doing. Yeah, understandable, right? And so if you can imagine, the child within you who experienced a lot of heavy things and formed these beliefs about itself and was dealing with the emotions and heaviness of the world and the family and kind of developed these protective mechanisms to stay safe and survive. And now we're looking at those very things that this young child needed to create in order to, navigate the world. And it's like, hey, why aren't you being a more productive human now, right? It can be very cold when we just look at ourselves as this, oh, I should just be able to do this. But when you start to look more closely at, oh, these are deep patterns that were created probably very young, before I was even conscious of this stuff. And let yourself visualize that even for a moment, right? This is a young kid from most of these feelings who had to just kind of figure it out. I mean, maybe you had parents that helped you out and told you things, but even then, they didn't know everything, right? And the world you're growing up in is different than the world they're growing up in. And you're having to just kind of figure this out. And being told, well, you should be this, you should be disciplined, you should be getting good grades in school and then getting this job. And that might not be how you process information. And suddenly everything is hard. Or just, kind of thrown into situations with very little context, very little help. And now we're expecting this kid and this nervous system and body and mind who's just trying to do its best to be like, why aren't you doing better? Like, let's turn to ourselves the way it would have been really nice if someone had said to us when we were whatever age it was. It could be very young. It could be like you're out of high school or college and you're thrown in the world. And what would have been nice to hear? Okay, yeah, let me show you. Of course you feel lost. Of course you don't know what to do. Of course you feel guilty, or look at what was taught to you. Look at the things you were told to believe and pursue even. So giving yourself, and if maybe it's easier to not think of it as yourself sometimes, think of it as a younger self. You could even think about the way you would talk to a young person that you know in your life, that you care about. And if they were to come to you, be like, man, I feel really ashamed and embarrassed because I don't understand what's going on in school, or I seem to be addicted to the internet. You're like, oh, just work harder. It's like, you should be further along. Remember, in many cases, the parts of ourselves that are feeling these shame, feeling these embarrassed feelings, they are young in that sense. So we're cognizing it, whatever the word is, I'm trying to say, as I'm this adult who should just have it figured out. But why? Why should we have it figured out? What processes has anyone given us to actually navigate this stuff. The idea that it just should happen somehow, right? Like I should just be a good piano player or whatever without someone, unless you're really talented naturally, which some people are, and that throws us off even more, right? There's like a process to it. And so this process sort of begins with, okay, this is what I'm actually kind of feeling and what's going on behind these deeper feelings. So let yourself create a little more distance from all of this, acknowledging yourself as just giving yourself credit for, hey, I'm at least willing to look at these things, right? This is not the simplest thing. We're not just like pumping ourselves up here, listening to like a motivational content. Like, hey, it's all going to be great. We're looking at what's making it feel not great, and it's not fun to look at. But we're helping each other look through it. Right? The hard studies, late nights. This is from the chat. Have done jack squat for adulting. Yep. Having to write term papers and stuff didn't teach us how to like function. Right? No emotional regulation, communication skills, healing, financial literacy. Yeah, all the things that like are kind of what make you quote unquote function and succeed in the world. Or typically even that, like even if you grew up in a Western, middle class situation and went to a decent college, a lot of these things are not taught to you. Part of me is feeling unsafe with that compassion towards young self. Yeah, that's not something to force for sure. It's sort of an invitation, especially in a group context. That's not always accessible. That's okay. I don't mean to say like, well, the only way to heal this is you have to feel compassion for a younger self right now. Definitely not at all. Sometimes it's available, and when it's not, it just means us as the adult are more triggered or have more intense emotion around a particular topic, in which case kind of the inner child or parts of self model are not as helpful for that situation or that moment. And that's important to remind myself of as well when I go into such things. I also, just to shift gears, just to let you know that I am starting a program that is this type of call and what we're doing these next 3 days, 3 times per month. I'll put it up on the screen here. It's exactly in this format, in the sense that it's group, but it's just me on screen, so you can attend anonymously. There's going to be a topic for the two of the calls, like we're doing now, like these over 3 days. Today's getting out, judging yourself, and tomorrow is, I forget what tomorrow is because I'm looking at this right now, but in a similar way, 3 times a month, all the information is on the page. Once a Monday at noon, once a Monday at 7 p.m., one Saturday at 12 p.m. We'll process through things, and the third call of the month, or one of the calls during the month, will be Q&A, a more chance to kind of refresh and go over some of the topics, the techniques, the conversations to kind of, okay, how do I navigate this? This is what's been coming up for me. So as long as you're inside there, you'll have access to all the recordings. I'll record every call, whether you can be there or not, and you can just watch all of them. And because they have a topic, there will be a clear list in the library, right? October 5th, if I want to watch the replay that was about working through money shame, or working through, past relationships, past breakups and trauma around that. We did that on, December 5th. I can go watch that recording. So it's going to be topic based. It's going to be working like this. It's $18 a month for now. Email me if that's an issue, in the sense like maybe you're in another country with a different exchange rate or something like that. I totally get it. You can send me an email if this is something you really, really want to do and it's not accessible for you. Just let me know. Do that. Obviously, you can email me that privately. I'm closing this on October 13th. And anyone who does it during the next 3 days, I'll put that link in the chat as well. I'm giving automatically recording of 2 workshops I did in the past, which is healing past breakups and relationships, and feeling safe in your body, which are like hour-long. They're not tapping, actually. They're kind of some different approaches for those specific processes. So that's the info about that. Now let's get back into just the kind of last and final phase of this for today. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll be back Monday evening. But this feeling of, okay, we've got a general place we're judging ourselves, right? And then, okay, how am I experiencing it? Right? Like some shame, some embarrassment, this frustration. And now this is counterintuitive to many people. But having processed through some of that, some of the shame, some of the embarrassment, or whatever your particular feelings are, I'd like you to get even more specific and just invite your mind. It's okay if nothing comes up. Say, okay, for what I'm feeling around this, whether it was resentment, whether it was predominantly the perfectionism, the I need to be perfect, invite your mind and your body to say, is anything coming up that really triggered or reminded me of that feeling? Is there anything I'm feeling in my body or any memories that come to mind that really speak to this moment or speak to this feeling? Don't dig for them, don't hunt for them, just see what comes up. Even if it's blank, that's useful. Say like, yeah, what does this feeling of anger or perfectionism, what does it remind me of? Anything, any images come to mind? Sometimes they're a little abstract. Any particular feelings in my body? My back starts to tighten up, for example. Mainly frustration at trying so hard. Yeah, good. And staying with that a little bit more, see if you can give that frustration anything that's a little more sensory, right? Like that frustration is my fists want to clench, my teeth want to grit. See if any people come to mind, right? Teachers, parents, frustration, anywhere it might be channeled. And you're just inviting that because, like I said in the beginning, we were talking about core beliefs and things. We think that the way to get deeper into releasing it is to go find the core belief, but that's more abstract. The more specific you get, your body is what's holding this, right? And the memories hold those details. So if shallow breathing, feeling frozen in the body, wanting to be invisible, rapid heartbeat, good. Okay, please be tapping for sure. And always remember that if it's something super intense, intentionally back off of it. Say, okay, thank you for showing me that. Think of something that keeps you, makes you feel safe and calm. Picture yourself in environments, look around the room, right? But gently kind of inviting in these visceral experiences. You've probably heard of the book, The Body Keeps the Score. Many, Gabor Mate's work, clinical EFT, right? These specific experiences, the tightness in your throat, right? That's where the kind of information is. And your brain is tagging, oh, I have to do this workshop, or I have to, whatever it is. I have this client, but I myself am not doing that work. Oh, I'm looking at my phone and I'm doom scrolling. Right. That's sort of the stimulus, but where it's held, where it's stored, the deeper stuff. So we've got some good physical experiences here. So shallow breathing, feeling frozen. And what I invite you all to do, of course, you don't have to share them. It's totally up to you. Sense of being 3 and 4 and all alone, hidden among many siblings and chaos of my large family. Okay, and if you have something like that, check in, make sure that as an adult are okay with the intensity of that you can still feel connected to yourself. And if not, again, step back from that, orient yourself to the room, take some deep breaths, say thank you for showing me that. We don't have to jump into anything super heavy. But what you're going to do now is just keep tapping either through the points or points you like. And don't worry too much about any particular words. You can, for example, vocalize, okay, the tightness in my throat. And I will vocalize them for you as they come in the chat. And of course, you can replace them with your own words. Any change in my breathing, right? The shallow breathing. Feeling frozen in my body. I want to be invisible. It doesn't feel safe or okay right now. Maybe I don't feel like I'm, in immediate danger, but there's something unsafe about this. There's something I've learned to recognize is dangerous, or dangerous to my sense of self. I am supposed to be the person who's good with money. But this shows me I'm not. And I'm feeling that in my chest and my throat. Feeling the tightness. Supporting my body as these stored emotions are coming up. Allowing my body to feel and process these things. Allowing my attention to stay as best I can with what I'm feeling and experiencing. And if there's any person, place, imagery, higher power that helps me, that helps give me more a sense of safety and security, that can help me with this, that can help be present with everything I've been holding here. My body's been holding this for a long time. My body picks up the phone. My body says, no, let's not do that task today. Because it's carrying all this. And I'm open to having compassion for it. To having less judgment for my body. Because it's not jumping up to hustle and grind. Because there's not a ton of motivation to go study or do whatever. That it doesn't have it all figured out. I acknowledge everything it's carrying. And a lot of this goes way, way back. What good does it do to yell at myself for this? What purpose does it serve? To say, you should be carrying less emotion. You should be further than you are. I'm open to relaxing that thought, that way of looking at myself. Maybe even an alternative perspective. Wow, you've been carrying this for decades. I'm impressed you're still even able to function. How can I help you be relieved of some of this? Yeah, of course, maybe you're not, jumping up to be productive. Carrying decades of sadness and embarrassment. You're carrying the voice of parents or teachers or others saying you should be other than you are. Maybe I don't need to add to that judgment. Yeah, of course I am where I am. I've been carrying so much. I choose to turn to what I've been carrying so I can begin to carry less. How about I help myself carry less? How about I encourage myself? Yeah, there's a lot there. What support do we need? Yeah, you grew up as a human in an imperfect world, to say the least. Yeah, you were taught all this stuff about making money and being successful. Or you're not supposed to be single. Or being a coach means you're perfect. This is not reality. But my body is carrying it. And so I choose to support it and help it. Okay, let's take a breath. Yeah, and you can continue with that as it feels right for you. I'd be curious to hear how that feels for you, what that feels like to look at yourself in that way or kind of lean into that direction with this, so that the tapping is not just about like, let's hurry up and clear that guilt and shame so I can be more productive, right? That's that's often there. It's like the sneaky thing that we're kind of looking at over these next 3 days, and a huge emphasis of what I do in general, because it's like, okay, I found the shame, I found the guilt, let's tap that away, let's meditate that away so that I can do the real thing, which is being like a productive human in a capitalist society or whatever, right? So I can make myself proud and be what I think I'm supposed to be. But instead, go, wow, this is a crazy world. My body's been carrying decades of stuff, depending on your age. This is the path. Being more supportive to myself, learning how to work with these feelings and work with what's coming up inside of me, rather than how do I fix what's going on inside of me so I can get to the real stuff. And the more kind you are to yourself, the more this space there is to process, the more it happens as a side effect, right? I mean, if you're carrying, I don't know, a 70-pound backpack and then you put it down, you're probably going to walk around more. You're probably going to feel more motivated to do more things. But it just would be natural consequence of holding less weight, and you might start to become more in touch with what you actually want to do, and what, for example, the reality of being a coach is, which is nothing to do with being perfect. It's like, oh, I enjoy helping people, right? It's about them. I don't care if my surgeon, if I have a broken bone, has like a perfect health in his own body and has done everything, has a great financial account and is spiritually enlightened. Like, can you help fix my bone? Then I would like your service, right? And also understanding that, yeah, okay, when the world is scary at times, like, yeah, I need some outlet. And maybe I have a tendency to go towards the phone, but what does that phone give me that I need? And how can I find another way to sort of access that relief or release? Or what is it? What information is that kind of seeking for? What's the habit there that can be calmed down rather than just judging it as a bad habit? So again, I'll see you if you can the next couple days. Tomorrow, same time, same channel. Monday, 7 p.m., same time, same channel. Here is the information once again. I'll put the link in the chat. And like I said, if anyone there's also an annual, which is $180. Again, email me if you really want to do this on a consistent basis. Like I said, 3 times a month with the library. Email me if there's any issues with like exchange rates or costs. And if you join while this is happening the next 3 days, like I said, you'll get those 2 workshops as a bonus as well. Thank you all so much. Thanks for spending this time with me today, and for being sharing your feelings, sharing your experiences in the chat, being vulnerable, doing that. I'm sure you benefited many people. I'm sure many people listening are also experiencing like, oh, I can relate to that. So by doing this with the group and sort of sharing it with other people, we're also helping each other in a lot of invisible ways. At least that's part of my belief system around all of this. It amplifies in numbers, and it amplifies when you allow yourself to also kind of just connect to the other people that are here. Like, okay, I'm not alone. We even have in the chat, shoot, I'm relieved I'm not alone. And that's huge, right? Because it can often feel like you're shouldering these things. And the more I've gotten myself out of the cave, as like the mountaintop is sort of where it's all at, right? To be alone in the cave and meditating, and I'm going to work on myself and become perfect, which was basically my conceptual model of life, right? I'll become perfect. I'll master everything. Then I'll go out and show how, smart or healed or whatever I am. And then I'll be able to do a good job. And that's very isolated, right? And that's how a lot of the at least education is, I'd say, at least for men, I know in my experience, to be like, go figure it out. Go figure it out. Grow up, and then go and fix the problem. But really to be in the community of like, oh, a lot of us are trying to do that. And it's good to recognize that, yeah, we all are in this together. And depending on what you believe, what I believe in, an unbelievably unified way, I think more than we can possibly imagine, where, what we do, what we allow ourselves to feel when we feel kindness towards others or for ourselves, it has ripple effects that could potentially have ripple effects even in some of the places we feel totally powerless. So, I don't think it's just naive feel-good stuff to say if I work through some of my own anger, we do it as a group, that can have ripple effects for how creates a space for some of the other anger in the world, so to speak. So maybe I'm being overly optimistic, but thank you for the nice comments. Thank you, Evan. Your calls are always great. Oh, nice to see you. I really, really appreciate it. I don't know why I don't say people's names a lot, because I feeling like in case they're sharing something personal and the calls are recorded. But if I do that, it's not because I'm like, don't know who you are. It's just sort of a habit to be like, oh, I don't know if people want their names said or not. So thank you so much. Thanks for the nice comments. Hopefully I'll see some of you tomorrow, and I look forward to that. All right, have a great rest of your day. And any questions, shoot me an email. Talk to you soon.